Hey everybody, it's AP and today we're making a wooden mallet. As I'm trying to kind of hone my woodworking skills, one thing I keep coming across is the use of a wooden mallet in your work, especially when it comes to either chiseling things or even just tapping pieces of wood into place. Using a regular metal or steel or alloy hammer can mar the wood, can damage the wood, and you don't want that obviously in your woodwork. But having a padded wooden mallet can help achieve the same effect when you're trying to move things into place, or again trying to chisel pieces of wood if you're going that direction. So I wanted to make one. It's actually pretty simple to make one. I saw a few videos, one from Steve Ramsey over at the Woodworking for Mere Mortals channel, where he had some good guidance on a particular design. And then I also stumbled across another version which was a little bit more simpler for my tastes. Steve's required some mortise and tenoning, as well as using wedges to hold the handle into the hammerhead. This other version though did something way simpler, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually did film an episode of me doing the Steve Ramsey hammer, and it was a disaster. It just did not work out. I just decided to start from scratch and do something different. So this version of the hammer is going to take some elements from Steve's, as well as some elements from this other design that I stumbled across on Instructables, I think. And if I can find the link, I will put that in the description, actually for both of them, so you can see how those two informed the making of this particular hammer. So first things first, I have some maple here, which I'm going to use for the hammerhead, and I have some oak. I have a 1.5 by 1.5 inch wood blank, oak wood blank, which I'm going to use for the handle. What I'm going to do first though is I'm going to cut this down to the width of this maple, which is about 3/4 inches. And that, by cutting that down, that's going to end up being my actual handle. So let's do that first. Cutting the oak was a little tricky. Thankfully, my wife just got me some of these gripper blocks, which I use as a replacement feather. Now, there's probably a better way to do this, so don't do as I do in this instance. Oh, and this isn't sponsored by the gripper. Yet. I then cut 3 pieces of maple, 7 inches long. This will make up the hammerhead. Finally, I cut one of the pieces of maple down and then drilled a 1.5 inch hole in the center. This creates a cavity where I can add more weight to the hammer. Okay, so now I need to find the center of this. So I did 7 inches. So the center is 3.5 inches, right? Right, yes. So that's the center. This is 1.5 inches wide. So that means, so let's do 3/4 and 3/4. So in the Ramsey example, he made a tenon out of this and then stuck it inside after this was all glued together, so you'd have like this mortise and tenon. But the Instructables example that I found has you actually place this in and glue it in all at the same time. So I like that way much better, way much more, because it takes the margin of error out when trying to make the mortise and tenon. Now, but one thing I am taking from the Ramsey example is the interior part. He drilled holes in and then added weights to give this a little bit more extra oomph. I've already screwed this up by cutting this too small, so I'm going to have to glue this into 2 pieces. But in essence, we glue this all together and then put the top on, and you have a hammer. You can kind of see it there, right? Right. Like those burn marks. Okay, so first though, I'm going to glue these pieces in. I think I'm going to go this way. Yeah. And then I'm just going to glue this piece that I accidentally cut off here. Oops. And that's okay. That's a-okay. And then once this is all cured, I'll just trim off the excess on each side. So where's my glue? The weight holders were just glued in place and clamped down. While that cured, I took the handle over to the router table and passed each edge with a round over bit to make the handle much more comfortable to, well, handle. This isn't fully cured, but it's cured enough. And of course, that is going to be a tight fit. Of course it is. But you know what? That's actually not a bad thing that it's a tight fit. It'll just give it more strength. So that was a happy accident. A happy accident. So we have these two holes here, and I need to put, I'm going to put weights in these. So in Steve's video, he put in sand, but made a reference to you can use fishing sinkers. So I went to Walmart and I picked up various sized fishing sinkers. These are bullet weights. I think they're called that because they're made out of actual bullets, which is cool. Off the streets into our fishing lures. So I'm just going to, these are actually already, they're all different sizes, but I have them split up evenly from my failed experiment yesterday. So let's just fill those in there. There's still some wood chips in from the extraction process from yesterday as well. Okay, and that just gives it a nice extra heft. I mean, the maple's heavy enough already, but this just adds to that. So actually I'm going to take a little bit out because I don't want. All right, so let's see. I'm actually going to take a few of these out so I can get this nice and flush. Perfect. Is that the one that puts us over the edge? No. All right. Perfect. Okay. Now we're all glued up. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. I have my hammerhead, and I've run that on the router table to give this a nice rounded edge here. So now I'm just going to sand it all down. Oh, you didn't see this, but I ran this through the table saw just to kind of plane all the sides so they're nice and smooth. God, that looks beautiful. Okay, so the last piece is, yes, I have to sand this first, sand this, and then take this and put it in there. And as you can see, it's not going in. So I'm going to have to put it in the right side first. Yeah. I need to sand this down a little bit so it'll fit, it'll pressure fit in. And I'll probably put a little glue in there. And then I think we're done with this. Ooh, I can't wait to use it. I ran the orbital sander over the handle to smooth out any rough edges, but also to try to get it to fit in the hole better. It took a lot of pounding, but the handle finally got in. Finally, I put some leather on the ends of the hammerhead. This will help cushion the hammer blow and minimize any damage to my future projects that require pounding from this puppy. Wow, there are a lot of innuendos in this episode. And we have a hammer. Yes! This is actually pretty cool. It's very solid. It's very solid. Between the weight of the maple itself plus the additional sinkers that I put in here to give it some more heft, this really could pack a punch. Not that I will be hitting anybody with it, but I will be hitting chisels and wood with it. The leather here, if I was to do this again, I would do a couple things differently. First, it was a bear to get this handle in here. I had to pound this so hard. It just took forever. It's so tight in there. I don't have any glue in here. This thing's never coming off. It's just never going to come off, which is good. That serves its purpose. But to make it a little bit easier to get in next time, what I'd probably do is just taper the top of this a little bit or sand it a little bit, just a hair thinner to get it up there easier. What else would I do? Oh, so I only had some belt leather left over from my Vader build. Ideally, I would have put leather over the whole face of the hammer here, but I didn't. And I mean, this will just help me, you know, hit the chisels on target, you know. I can play a little game of target practice. Anyway, I'm super excited to start using this. This was a pretty easy build. You could do it. You don't need a router to do this. All you need is some wood and a means to cut the wood and some glue. And I'll try to illustrate the plans or steps and put them in the post below so you can make one for yourself. So if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Subscribers are kind of like a big deal in the YouTube world. Like, I need 100 of them just to even give my channel a name, or at least get the URL to be youtube.com/madebyap instead of youtube.com/AB723996521HJMP. So yeah, that's not really easy to remember. So if you could subscribe, that would be awesome. Big subscriber shout outs today go to Mr. Peter Carriveau and Elise Marie Coffin of the beautiful Pine Tree State, Maine. That's my home state. And my homies in hospitality, Angie McGhee and Mr. Steve Moss. Thank you all for subscribing to the channel. Please tell your friends. And until next time, stop planning and start making something.